Welcome to the High Achieving Parents Podcast. I am your host, Severine Nassens, and I invite you to join us as we explore the reality and family experiences of high achieving parents around the globe. Learn from like-minded parents who do believe balance is possible, but not a one-size-fits-all proposition. Stay tuned for conversations about how my guests juggle successful careers in parenthood to make it all work in their own way. Will we find a common thread throughout these interviews? Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute honor to present to you a dear friend, an amazing woman who I admire a lot. Tons and tons and tons of extraordinary conversations we've had over the last, I think, more than 10 years already since we've met. And she's joining me from Sweden. Her name is Tina Johnsson, and she has been a dear friend to me for many, many years. We met in Mexico as Tina came to Mexico about 30 years ago and spent about 29 years working in the hotel industry as a high executive. Apart from that, she was Vice-Consul for Denmark for many years, about 14 years. And she's the mom to an amazing young lad called Max. And well, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome her here in this space, in this podcast, to share her story on how she managed as a high executive, as a highly successful and very busy mom, to manage motherhood and parenthood all at the same time. So Tina, welcome.
Thank you, Severine. It's an honor to be here. Wow, what an introduction. I feel like a celebrity. My God.
And here
No,
you are, my
um,
friend.
thank you so much. It's fabulous to be here. I love this concept that you have put together here. And I think that if we can share with each other, then we can make everybody's life easier.
Absolutely, because together we can conquer the world, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
No
So
doubt.
Tina, to get started, I would love for you to share with the audience and with me how it was for you to be a very busy executive and to be a mom at the same time.
Um, it wasn't always easy. I think, in fact, it was probably a huge challenge most of the time. Um, I worked in sales and marketing, and so I traveled a lot. I also represented Mexico in certain international events as an MC or a speaker. So, I mean, probably there was not a month that I wasn't traveling.
Hmm.
And so to juggle my own travel schedule and balance that with the events that Max had in school or in his, you know, extracurricular activities,
Hmm.
um, that was a bit of a challenge. But I think that the key was to surround myself with great people who could support and um, and sort of make that balance of his life and my life, and
Hmm.
both of them being important. And yeah, that was probably one of the
The
biggest
main thing.
challenges.
What impact did that have on your son?
I think that it's actually now in hindsight, I think it was actually a positive impact because not only did he grow up to be really independent,
Hmm.
he also had firsthand experience that if you work hard um, and you set goals and you sort of do everything in your power to go towards those goals, um, then anything is possible. And so I think that yes, as a professional, you take away some part of time
Hmm.
from your child, but you're also teaching them an invaluable lesson, which is working hard, you can achieve anything.
Anything.
And my mother always used to say, um, Tina, it's not the quantity of time you spend with him, it's the quality of time you spend with him. So,
Wise
yeah.
words from your
Hmm.
mom. Wise words. I totally agree with that. That being able to manage our time, our schedule, and schedule. I don't know if you did that, but I actually write down the times that I want to spend with my daughter. I put them down in my agenda just to make sure I block those times out. Did you have any particular tricks or habits to make sure that your quality time with Max was insured?
No, I think more than anything, I really try to incorporate him in my life and me in his life.
Hmm.
So, um, instead of feeling like those two were competing against each other, we kind of integrated them. So, what does that mean? I would take him along when I could on trips, or I would explain, this is what I have to do today. He would come to the hotel with me. Um, I even remember times when he was young and I would have dinners at the hotel or something. He'd come along and he would learn to, sit and converse and have a conversation and eat dinner and, not just be all over the place, but actually having
Yeah,
to be a part of uh,
a
a party
professional life.
of yeah, exactly. And so I think that was beneficial to him too.
Yeah.
And I think that it was beneficial to me, um, to be able to integrate and do things together
Hmm.
when I needed to do something and when he needed to be something. He was for many years into Taekwondo and trained on a competitive level. So that was also a lot of time. I mean, maybe I didn't sleep that much during those years, but I got job done and I got time with Max. So
So you're also a very passionate photographer, and I've had the pleasure of working with you as my photographer, which I cherish those images dearly. Now, I also know that at the time you started up your own photography business, while you were exiting the hotel, you were still at the consulate because you were there as well, and you started up that business. And I remember Max coming along, carrying equipment, and you actually involved Max quite a lot in that business. How did that work out for you?
I did. I mean, at that time, he was in the teenage years and um, he had had a summer job or something like that. And then I started up this business. And of course, I had one employee, and then sometimes I needed more. And so I asked him if he was interested, and he said yes. And that was also a time for us to spend time together.
Hmm.
But obviously, he made a little money, which any teenager loves
Very
that,
welcome
right?
extra.
So, yeah, so he was very excited about it, and he learned a lot too. And it was a great fun
It
time.
was fun.
Yeah, he
Did
was
he actually pick up photography?
he did, but it didn't be. It's not as big of a passion as it is for me.
Well, I do think that tapping into our passions fuels us, right? It gives us extra energy, and I love your pictures whenever you post them online. So people check out Tina Johnsson for photography. If you're in the area of Sweden, she's your girl. She's the woman you want to call. Um, Going back to parenting, what would have been or what was for you the toughest situation that you had to deal with in the parenting area, and how do you deal with that?
Um, well, two things come to mind. First of all, I think I divorced from Max's father when he was fairly young, and I think that um, well, I didn't have much help from him, from his father. And that's probably the most difficult thing that I've had to do is having to go through it alone. And I say alone, and I don't really mean alone because I did
Hmm.
surround myself with a lot of people who
Yeah.
were incredibly supportive and without whom I would have never been able to do it. Um, that goes without saying. But I think that it was an added challenge for me because I was a single mom
Yeah.
or a divorced mom, and that's never easy. But it's not impossible either.
I hear
I
you.
think that it's yeah. You've been there, done that too.
Been there, done that too, and it is indeed a challenge to, because for many of us, when we have our children, we do not have them with that idea of becoming a single mom, because
Of
we're
course,
in a marriage, right? you
right.
you never think about, oh, this is, I'm just going to have a child and then divorce. It's not necessarily the route you want to go. And when you do end up alone, you have I used to look at it in the beginning as having to juggle mom and dad positions at the same time. But I did learn over time that I'm mom and dad is dad. And if dad is not there, or dad is only partially there, then that's what it is. I cannot do both, because I'm the woman, I'm the mother, and then I've seen you in that position as well. And I love that you mention your support system, because you do have, and you still have, a very solid support system. How did you go about integrating you being a single mom with your support system? How did you build that out?
I think in the beginning, you think that you have to do it all on your own, and I'm a bit of an overachiever as it is, and I think you laugh, but I mean,
I
and I
know.
recognize it. It's taken me many years of therapy to realize that. But so I think that in the beginning, I really wanted to try to just being able to juggle all of the balls on my own, and after a while, and maybe with a little bit of maturity too, you realize that
Yeah.
that's not healthy for anybody. It's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for Max. And so, I learned after a while that I did need to um, not burn the candle on both ends.
Yeah.
And little by little, I had help from friends, from family, and from employees who
Amazing.
helped juggle that too.
Your
So yeah,
team, your team had your back all the time.
yeah, yeah.
And I think
And
that's
of
also
course,
part.
you yourself are your biggest team. You have to, that's always going to be the case. But it's important to also realize that it's okay to not be at 100% the whole time.
Hmm.
You can also delegate some
Yeah.
things.
How did you maintain your sanity through it all? How did you find that equilibrium or balance? I mean, I understand that balance is, it's never going to be perfect, but how did you maintain your sanity through this all?
Therapy. No, and I mean, it sounds, I mean, joke aside, but um, I think that it's so important to realize that it's okay to get help
Hmm.
too.
Yes.
I think that I've become, I mean, I have this like saying that I surround myself and I look at it every single day and I say, I am strong because I know my weakness. And that has become my mantra, you know? So going through therapy is actually a sort of very sane or a way to maintain sanity because
Hmm.
you can lean on somebody else and it's not somebody who's in that inner circle. It's not somebody who's part of your team. It's somebody who's completely on the outside and you can just unload. And I think that that has maintained me sane for many years.
I think it's interesting coming from a European, rooting for therapy, because I grew up in Belgium and therapy is like not on the table.
Yeah.
It's like not something we do. We manage that, right? And I'm
And
really
we
happy.
do it, but then we don't talk about it, right?
Oh no. It's
So
we're like therapy, closet therapy, right? We go into the closet and go, shh, don't tell anyone. However, I do think, and I believe we're very on the same page here. I do believe that therapy is important, whether that's coaching or you're a psychologist, or I mean, it could even be just a priest for some people. It's just being able to get that stress offloaded, and as you say, you unload your worries, you unload all of it, so that you can empty. It's like a brain dump. You dump it
Yeah.
all somewhere,
Yeah.
and having a safe space
And to
to,
me, it's almost like a recharge of batteries.
yes.
It's like, okay, now I'm dumping this on this other person, and that in itself kind of recharges my own batteries, and then I'm able to go get it for, another few weeks or whatever it is, however long your intervals are, for therapy.
Yeah.
I think that it's a great way to just kind of recharge,
Hmm.
regroup, um, and get input from somebody who's not in your inner circle.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another topic, and it's related to the therapy that I'd like you to share with us. I know that Max, when he was young, he was diagnosed with ADHD, and that also, I think that also something that led you to get in touch with people for therapy on yourself. How were you able to find the information and get through that, because it's a diagnosis that as a mom you're not happy to hear, right?
Now, I
It's
mean,
painful,
I
it's
kind of
painful.
when Max got his diagnosis, I really felt like I was falling apart because I was very misinformed. I didn't know enough, and I think that every parent needs to, if they have a child who gets a diagnosis of ADHD, um, they have to decide what is right for their child and their family. But
Hmm.
in my case, I really took it, and here's that overachiever of me. And again, I kind of took it upon myself to just start learning and learning and learning and learning and reading and talking and finding out more and more and more information. And it turned out that I actually, together with another woman, opened the chapter, for the southeast of Mexico, for it's the National Association of for parents of children with ADHD. And we ended up, I was the vice president for 2 years, and we ended up actually organizing events, where we invited teachers from all the schools in Quintana Roo, in the state of between Cancun and Playa del Carmen, um, and we invited parents, who have children with ADHD, who were in the same seat that I was when I first got the diagnosis
Yeah.
and felt totally lost. So we actually ended up organizing, seminars and conferences and where the parents would pay. Some parents we would actually invite and we would sponsor them.
Yeah.
And then all the teachers, we would actually sponsor their, participation at the
Hmm.
conferences as well, because we felt like there was a huge, now this was 15, 20 years ago, so it was a long time ago, but there was a huge gap of information, and teachers didn't know a lot about it either, or we
Hmm.
found that there were so many
Yeah.
teachers who needed help in understanding,
You
how
did
to
a
get them.
very, yeah, it was a very important task to destigmatize
Yeah,
the diagnosis, because and still today, especially here in Mexico and Latin America, there's a lot of misinformation.
yeah,
A huge lack. There's a lack of good information, and there's a lot of misinformation. So people
absolutely.
have there's a lot of taboo around it as well. So I think the job that you ladies did, and what they're still doing today, is informing people and teaching us as parents, when we deal with a situation like that, how you turn that around to be
Yeah.
something positive.
Absolutely. And the fact of the matter is that, um, I think that you talked about stigma, and I think that it's really important when you find, if you are in the position that your son or your daughter gets a diagnosis for ADHD, there's like a triangle that is like the perfect triangle, and that is parents, school, and then therapist and neurologist.
Hmm.
And those three have it. if those three work together, there are fabulous ways to come out of it.
Yes.
And so I think that that's so important, not to stigmatize and not to sort
Hmm.
of get this diagnosis and then just go into panic mode and say, well, I'm not giving my child medicine, or I'm don't, like, the most important thing is get information, find a good triangle, because if you've got a good neurologist therapist, you
Hmm.
have information, and
School.
your child's school has information. Those three things are going to completely be pivotal in the way that your child will be able to cope with that
Hmm.
diagnosis.
How did it work out for Max in the end?
Oh my God. Couldn't have been better. I mean, I'm so proud of him. He is, um, I didn't think I was going to get this emotional. He surprises me every single day, and he has surprised me in all of the different stages of his childhood, and then, going into adulthood. And I mean, Taekwondo was great for him too. He competed on a national level. Um, he actually got his black belt in Taekwondo, segundo dan, so second dan.
Like Dan.
And, everything that entails, going through like really rigorous training and tests and writing a thesis. And um, he's has a really inquisitive mind. And he is, self-taught. He's curious about everything to this day.
Yeah.
So, you know, he just last year graduated from university with a degree in communications and
Congratulations.
media and communications, and I couldn't be prouder, really.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know Max personally, and he's an amazing young soul. He's always on the happy side. He's always ready there to help. And he's a, I think as a mom, you did an amazing job. And it's like my goal is to get there with my 13-year-old now. So
You have
there's so
ways to go
much.
still.
I got plenty of
I'm like on
adventures.
the downhill now. I've got an adult now. I'm done.
That my mom says is she's never done with us. So
Oh no, I'm done.
you're okay.
I'm done. Now I'm just enjoying him as an adult and
Yeah.
as a fantastic human being. Um, Whatever I did and whatever I gave him um, in support and education and pure tenacity, it's done. And now he is who he is. And I love every moment and every
The aspect of
time that
it.
we have together. Yeah.
That's so cool. Now, to round up, what would your piece of advice be for other high achieving moms and dads when dealing with stuff? What would your best piece of advice be for all of us?
It's short and sweet. It's all about communication.
Hmm.
Um, I was truly um, lucky enough to grow up in a home where we had both our parents, and they always stressed communication, and that has become sort of my go-to always. Um, Talk openly about everything great that's happening in your life, but also with life's disappointments. I mean,
Hmm.
I've never been the one to hide things from Max. I think that it's important to have open communication, to understand that life has highs and lows,
Yeah.
and it's how we deal with them that's important in the end. Um, and I think that communication is just such a cornerstone of how we have been as a family, just he and I.
Hmm.
Um, and I also feel like having respect for your child, the way that you want them to respect you, is also so important. And sort of having all the rules apply to everybody in the household. So you know, if I expect my child to behave and to follow certain rules, well, then I better follow those rules as well,
And
right?
set the example. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And not by what you say, but by what you do. And
absolutely.
so, yeah, communication. I think that's the
The key.
the key. Yep.
Yes. Thank you, amiga. Thank you for joining me. This is such a treat to have you talk about the parenting side of you, about the mom part in you, and about all the successes that, all the ups and downs in life, and all the hardship, and all the joy and the bliss that parenthood brings to us, and also being successful professionally brings to us, because we're high achievers. We go get our stuff done,
Yeah.
and we're getting the parenting thing done as well. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with all of us. And
Thank you, Sevenine.
is there a place where people can reach out to you?
If anybody has questions, I am more than happy to answer, and they can get in touch with me through you. So
Right,
absolutely no problem at all.
I'll
And
be happy to relay
I
them.
just want to end it with saying congratulations to you, Severin. You're
Thank
doing a
you.
fabulous job, and I think that this podcast is such a fantastic idea, and I think that it'll help a lot of people. So yeah,
Thank you. That's the idea, to share our stories and to support, to build up a support system for other parents to reach out to. Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
Thank
And
you.
we will be in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
I'm already looking forward to our next session. What was your major takeaway from this one? I'd love to hear from you. Come and share your insights with me on social media at Coach Severine Nassens, and visit highachievingparents.com for more information on how you too can find clarity and obtain the tools to find fulfillment in both your professional and family life. Talk to you soon.